As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be.
Oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a.
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
Brav Bros.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brav Bros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Shoots Magoots. What's up, dude?
A lot, actually. I'm not even going to talk about my week. I'm not going to talk about anything weird or off-brand. I'm going to plug, baby. We're plugging up front. This is what we do now. We've got a live show in New York in July. I think it's the 26th.
July 26th, yes.
July 26th. It's part 2, No Filter Night Out with Zach Peter. And we're pumped.
Yeah. Yep. The first one went so well that we talked about it for a while, like post-show. Trying to get back to like that feeling, I think, is going to be my lifelong goal. Like that was my favorite place to be, was up on stage with everybody in the room. The energy was incredible. So when Zach like posed it to us, like, hey, would you guys want to do another one? We're like, fuck yeah, let's do it as soon as we possibly can. He's like, how's July? I was like, how's June, bitch? Like, can we go faster? But no, July 26th, City Winery. It's the main City Winery. Obviously, we'll get an address when it gets closer, but main City Winery in New York City. The boys are going to the Big Apple.
The Big Apple. If I don't see like 3 or 4 rats eating pizza at any point in time, I'm going to be pissed off and I'm going to feel like, why am I in New York if I can't see that?
I'm pretty sure you can go downtown in Philly and see that. You don't have to go to New York City to see rats.
Nah, I got to go to New York City. The New York City rats are bigger than the Philly rats. And everybody knows
what? You know what? At our live show in Philly, ironically enough, I was talking to Dev as I was walking into the venue. And I turned around and looked at my truck to make sure I had like locked it and I was parked within the lines and everything. And a rat ran under my tire. So
that's good luck, you know. That's what they say. They say that's good luck.
Rat in the tire, live by the fire. That's what they say.
All right.
Rat in the tire, live by fire.
That's kind of how our night went. We lived by the fire and the fire was glorious.
It was wonderful. And we're gonna do it again. But we have like a slightly expedited episode, I guess. I'm on vacation, kind of. My sister's graduating. Wow, do you still stand by that? My sister's graduating college. I came here to support Riley. Who
when I go on vacation, I'm an asshole. But when you go on vacation, it's I got a really important event in my family's life. Like my family golf trip is an important trip in my family's life, you know.
It's not okay, fine. If you want to compare your golf trip with my sister's graduation from an institution, from a university, then that's your prerogative. But let me just tell you, buddy, you sound like an asshole. But
college
let's move on. We're gonna be one of those podcasts. We're gonna start talking about how the system's broken now.
Yep, absolutely.
Great. Yeah, this is what we've been leading up to. All of our success has been leading to this. We're gonna switch the brand. No, we're not. We're still going to talk about Bravo. But
a couple of Bernie Sanders Juniors.
With that being said, let's get into the Rose and Thorn. We are back to the Rose and Thorn. Praise up to Kedar Sharif. Why don't you lead us off? You go first.
All right. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of thorns to pick from this week, which was disappointing.
We had a rosy week. Yeah, but you know, a lot of good things have been happening, and our comments have reflected as such.
Well, you know what? I noticed that our reviews went down to 4.7, but the last like 6 of them were 5-star reviews. So I think that Apple's got it out to get us.
No, Apple's against us. This is like conspiracy podcast.
Conspiracy podcast with Shooter and Steele. But no, I all the reviews were great. I picked this one out actually because it's a little off the beaten path, and it has to do with both of us. So this one comes from Jennifer R. Ellis. Hey guys, longtime listener. My husband and I are huge University of Georgia Dogs fans. I want y'all to know that the NFL draft, we will be watching your birds in the fall because my husband is calling Philadelphia UGA North. If you can talk about this one on the podcast, that'd be awesome. We're doing it right now, Jennifer. Keep up the good work. I love listening each week. Thank you, Jennifer from Augusta, Georgia. So not only is she a Dogs fan, and we're Dogs of the North, obviously, with all of our draft picks. Pay attention to the birds this year, everybody. but also she lives in Augusta too. That's got to be pretty interesting. The one weekend out of the year. I can't imagine what it's like the rest of the year, but.
Can we put this out there? Her name's Jennifer.
Yep.
Jennifer, we want to come stay at your house during Masters weekend. If you can get us tickets to the Masters and room and board, we will keep shouting out of the podcast
we will record the podcast on the road that
at your
Thursday at your house. Actually, that Wednesday night. We'll go to the par 3 contest Wednesday, and then we'll do Thursday, and then we'll hang out for the whole weekend. Who doesn't want that?
You can be on the podcast. You can be the third bro for the day. If you can get us into Augusta, we can stay at your house. You can come onto the podcast and be a bro.
I think that's a fair trade.
I do too. I think that, she's making out like a bandit here, honestly.
Absolutely. But like I said, not a lot of thorns this week. So I picked one out from Instagram. This was regarding our Doty interview last week. And this person said, why are you treating someone who did the same effing thing like she's an effing saint? And we talk about this all the time. The people that comment on posts instead of, listening to the whole thing. We went into depth. Like Steele did a really nice kind of like an homage to Kristen Doty about how, back in the day, she didn't have her shit together. And we kind of dove into that. But what we wanted to focus on was the good that she's done since then. Now, obviously, a lot of people have issues with Kristen for whatever fucking reason. But in the podcast, we talk about how she's used therapy and getting away from the show to be a better person. We're not calling her a fucking saint. We're trying to get perspective on these people that we're watching on TV that are definitely not saints. So it's just like the point was missed across the board.
Yeah. And I think it gives a good perspective of, once again, humanizing these people, and who we see on the show isn't always who we're getting in real life. Like these people might differ a little bit in their actual day-to-day. What was interesting talking to Kristen was being able to discuss the growth, discuss where she was. Like, she did a lot of fucked up stuff and we talked about it. So if you want to comment on a 60-second clip of a 60-minute episode, that's just illogical in my opinion. But whatever, people are going to say what they want to say. You can't control the masses. If they want to be pissed off, they're going to be pissed off.
Yeah, people are stupid sometimes. All right, you go. Let's hear it.
That was that was it.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. So my thorn, I just wanted to call it out. Remember that tweet we got when we announced our first live show, and somebody tweeted out that like it was a little video clip of an empty room, an empty audience, and like crickets, and it's like, live, look at the Brav Bros live show. I found it finally, and I had recorded a video from the stage of our actual live show just for this reason, only for this reason alone, not to show people how cool it was, not to show how exciting it was and the energy. I recorded this video simply to be petty and post it in response to that tweet. And guess what? I got to do it. I finally fucking found it. And
That's posted, a great rose.
I said, actual look at the Brav Bros live show. Boom.
I'm sure it was crickets really after that, or pretty much nothing. So those people.
Yeah, I don't think she probably even saw it, but I got to do it and it felt really good. So that's my.
Oh, she saw it.
That's my rosy thorn. And I'm just going to go with the rose because we had a lot of rose. It was a rosy week. We had a big week. The Doty interview was big. There's still a lot of buzz from the live show. So the boys are buzzing, man. The boys are buzzing. And let me address this real quick. I am not at the Yellowstone Ranch. I know it looks like I'm in the Dutton's living room. I am in North Carolina. But anyway, that's the YouTube joke. So if you don't get that, you gotta subscribe to our YouTube plug. Also, do you think it's an issue that every time we plug, we just obnoxiously say plug like 4 or 5 times, or is that just like getting the point across?
Getting the point across, yeah.
Okay, plug. Anyway, moving on to my actual rose, and it was a 5-star review on iTunes, and it's the bros get it. You guys are super funny and real. I love listening to all the recaps and takes you have. Obviously, no one's going to agree on absolutely everything, but hey, it doesn't matter. I respect where you're coming from, and I'm lucky I found the podcast. Exclamation point emojis, not just exclamation points, like the big red ones, just to really hammer home how excited she was to leave the review. But I love that review because I think it gets lost. And someone had a comment as well that was like, I hope you guys don't feel the need to defend yourselves every week. And it made me kind of like look introspectively. And I was like, you know what? We have been defending the same stance for like 6 weeks in a row. there's going to become, or sorry, there's going to be a time where I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I hit that point because I was like, they're right. You know, we continue to take this stance like, look, this is who we are. This is what you're going to get. People just don't want to hear it. They're going to say what they want to say. So I like that this person took the stance of, yeah, we're not going to agree on everything. That's okay. It is okay. We can all have different opinions. We have people that have like completely different opinions that reach out to us, and we have conversations with them to try to figure out where they stand, why they hear it that way, why they see it that way. It's interesting. Anyway, let's move on to the news, which you are taking this week. You've which I appreciate, since I'm running around like a crazy person. I'm supposed to be on vacation and I have to cook for like 40 people in about 3 hours.
That's fair. I do like that this week. Side note, last week I had Jax staring into my soul on your TV. This week I get 2 beautiful Longhorns behind you, one black and white, one in color, staring at me, and I really appreciate it.
Those aren't Longhorns, dude. But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, they are. They've got horns.
Just
Literally, they have Longhorns.
Doesn't
but
make,
anyway,
they're not Longhorns. Those are not long. Those are bulls. Those are regular bulls.
They are beautiful bulls.
There you go. You like
You've
my
got
bulls?
some beautiful bulls over there. All right. Sidetrack. Yeah. So in the news this week, a couple different points that we wanted to hit. Real Housewives of Miami will be returning next season to Bravo, not
I
Peacock.
know, they made the transfer. They got called back up to the big leagues.
Yep. And we love to see it because we really enjoyed this season. You know, I kind of forgot about the reunion because that didn't give us anything. The season on a whole, great TV. Loved it.
Yeah, it was a solid season. I like to see that Bravo is rewarding people for good work. You know, it gives, not only does it set a good precedent of like, there is a road back, but which will inherently kind of light a fire under the ass of some of the women that want to get back. It's like, okay, there is a formula to do it. I think Miami did it very well because the majority of that cast stayed true to like who they were. Like you didn't see
and that's what we really appreciated. Like we know that we're not going to get every single person on the cast going into their personal lives. But when you have like 3 or 4 women actually sharing their personal stories with either their husband, kids, whatever, it makes it that much better. And we talk about that all the time. Like that's the shit that we want to see. We don't want to see this inorganic bullshit that they're just trying to stir up to be iconic on TV. Like that gets old after a while. Yes, we need that, but it gets old after a while. So make them human, make them more of like a sympathetic character, and we'll be into it. So I think Miami did that beautifully this year, and I'm really excited for next year. Really holding out hope for that one.
Yeah, congrats to that crew. Hopefully they continue to put the good work in because it's not going unnoticed. Congratulations. No. Welcome back to the big leagues, man.
Hell yeah. Next bit of news, and you'll be excited about this one. Sonia and Luann's spinoff show will be premiering on Bravo in July.
I saw that. I don't know how excited I am about that.
It's going to sort of be like a mini. Well, I mean, you're a New York guy, or Devin rather is probably a New York girl.
Yeah, exactly. But you mistake me for being like a big Roni fan. I'm not. A lot of that show kind of bugged me. I will say it got me intrigued and hooked into the Real Housewives world overall. But there was a lot of things that did irritate me about the show, but I will say it did its job. It got me hooked, and it is it was a captivating franchise. Like you can't deny that Sonia and Luann both were captivating characters. Ramona, very captivating character. Dorinda, like the problem was that they almost are too big of personalities to be on the same cast.
Well, that's what I think they're doing is. We get like, I mean, Miami, we just talked about, they have like 3 or 4 friends of Potomac. We just watched, they have a bunch of people. It's almost getting too big for the show that you can't get those little intricacies about somebody's life. It's just all about them all together. So they're going the complete opposite direction with this. And I'm interested to see how it happens because you have 2 main iconic housewives on a show. You know, what's it going to be about? Is there going to be enough substance? Like that's the type of thing that I worry about. Now, obviously, we're going to challenge our listeners and ourselves to go into it with an open mind, see how it happens. Now, obviously, we know what these women are like. We've watched them for years. So let's hold out hope. Let's see what happens.
I do think that we are pretty good. I like to think at staying objective in new shows. Like we like to give them a fair chance. But with that being said, we're also very good at being like 2 episodes in and being like, oh, fuck this show. We're done.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's really the only other piece of news that popped out is that Southern Hospitality was officially announced for a 2nd season finally. So we can talk to the bros down there and see what's going on. But
Congrats to our Soho bros.
Yeah, we're
and,
pumped for them.
And ladies, congrats to that whole cast. It's a solid
Yeah.
cast. I'm excited for them.
Yeah, same here. But just kind of touching on that, being excited for new shows, you won't find a full in-depth Atlanta recap today. We will do a deep dive when Steele gets home. Maybe we'll watch a little bit together. I don't know if anybody knows this, but I now live a minute away from Steele. So we might do a little watch party for ourselves, hang out, eat some snacks, watch some Atlanta, and then we'll do a deep dive next week for the first and second episode.
Well, thank you for inviting yourself over to my house. We're always happy to have you.
Yeah, I'm going to do that all the time. I was actually there today.
I know. I'm not even there. You had to pick up the soundboard. Dev texted me.
Yeah, I know. I hung out with your dog for a little bit. It's all good.
Welcome home.
So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah.
All right. So as I said, I've had a stressful morning. I'm running around trying to get things together. And I tried to have like a deep breath moment before we started recording, because I know between this and Summer House, I'm going to get mad and I'm going to get a little heated. This episode of Vanderpump Rules, and I named our episode last week Scandival Act 1, because I felt like that was the first official Scandival episode. So this is Scandival Act 2. And this one sucked, and I hated it, and it was hard to watch. I got choked up at a couple of points in this episode out of tears of happiness at one point. Then there was like legitimately, like, I felt so bad for Ariana at one point that I started to get choked up. So there's two different moments. And we start out at something about her, and they're getting the ball really rolling. They got a sandwich test. They are light years ahead of Schwartz and Sandy's, and they just started. And I know it's a smaller space and like a smaller business. They're just making sandwiches, but the level of just organization and responsibility and like hearing their discussions juxtaposed to Schwartz and Sandy and what they talk about is comical, because these women are discussing, okay, we got to get this done. We got to get the food done so that we can do this. And we got to get the decor done just so we can open. Like they're focused on food first.
Yep.
Whereas Schwartz and Sandy are sitting in a fucking booth, like, and it really kind of broke down for me what their priorities are with the bar. And I was like, okay, well, this is why it's taking so long. They're so concerned about the fucking, and Kristen said it in the podcast with her, like they're concerned about the velvet ceiling and they're concerned about the booth being perfect. They're talking about the fact that they don't have a line staff a year into a restaurant endeavor. You don't have your line.
Oh, they've had cooks. It, like, if I have to hear them one more time say that they're doing a tasting menu, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
I was like, what do you mean you're trying drinks and food again? Like, how the fuck are you at that point?
They've had 4 parties at this place already. Like, clearly all they want to do is just show off that they have this space. It's almost like part of them is happy that they have like this second home away from home, where they're like, yeah, we can have a big party over here and we'll just, like foot the bill and do all this. Like, they spent probably 20-25 grand on that fucking couch just so that they have more seating. But they've lost chefs. They've lost like 2 chefs at this point. They've lost full menus. They don't have a fucking bartender. Like, they're losing everything because no one in their right mind is going to hang out and be like, yeah, when this gets off, we're really going to take off. I'm really excited for my career. Like, no, anyone in that industry is going to get there and be like, all right, so what's your ETA for opening? Let me try to set some things up. And they're like, well, we got to deal with this first and that first. We got to do another tasting menu because they didn't like the lobster corn dogs. And anyone in the right mind is just gonna be like, this is fucking nuts. Like, this is my career. I can't afford to sit and wait while you two dumb fucks sit here and figure out what you're doing. So they leave. Yeah. And like, rightfully so. Like, these two are idiots. And it's amazing that they ever fucking opened. And I actually had this thought tonight or this morning while watching it. If this entire season was just about that and just about the Raquel and Schwartz thing, I would be losing my mind. Because
oh my god, yeah, me too.
Like, it would suck. It would be so bad.
It'd be a very different season. We've talked about that in the past, and
even though like we just started getting into the Scandival stuff, even before then, like, there's just no substance. It's like they're just pushing these storylines that we don't care about anymore. We all have come to realize that these two should not own a business together or separately. Who cares?
No,
it just doesn't matter. So it's really tough to watch.
But it takes us into, they're sitting at Schwartz and Sandy's talking about, Schwartz brings up Ariana and Sandoval's relationship and like how they're doing. And this motherfucker brings up pens and batteries. He's like, there's pens in the drawers, there's batteries in the drawers, there's paper towels, there's, okay, you're doing the bare minimum of grocery shopping. Like, you're making sure you have supplies in your house. Like, what do you, I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to paint this picture and frame it as though he's putting in this effort and he just needs more out of Ariana, and like things are going south. It's not his fault. Like, I'm doing the little stuff. I'm putting pens and batteries in the drawer. I'm trying to make a connection. I'm trying to be more intimate. I'm not getting anything back, man. And Schwartz is like his little lackey. He's like, I know it's really tough. Like, you're trying to paint a picture that you are somehow a victim in this scenario. And it's laughable. That's your fucking argument, buddy? Double A's? Like, what are we doing here?
Who the fuck uses that many batteries and pens? Like, I don't understand. I probably have 2 pens in my whole house. And I know where they are because one's on my desk and one's in a drawer. How many pens do you go through? What are you fucking writing? An entire memoir? Like, this douchebag is absolutely writing a fucking memoir, and he needs the perfect pen to do it. Like, he's the epitome of SpongeBob when SpongeBob's writing that essay, and he spends 15 fucking hours just doing the T in the at the top of the page. Like, that is Tom Sandoval. So that's what I thought of right away. But the fucking batteries, like, everything fucking charges now, dickhead. Get out of the 90s, you dumb fuck. Jesus. All right. Anyway, that drove me fucking crazy. Like, my love language is ordering things from Amazon Prime. Like, go fuck yourself, you douchebag. But anyway, let's move on.
And now we get immediately to like a Tom and Ariana talk where Tom brings up some of this to her. And what I thought was crazy, you see how this dynamic has gotten to this point. You see that Ariana sympathize and empathize with Tom. Like, she sits there and talks to him and she says, look, I'm not mad that you didn't come home when my grandmother died. And I was like, damn, I don't know that most people I know in relationships or marriages would be cool with that scenario. Like, you're upset at the fact that now you have to defend yourself and you look stupid in front of your friends, but you're not upset at the fact that he made you look stupid. Like, that's where I get confused. But I think that's where you see kind of what he's done in this relationship. He's clearly kind of put himself in a position where he puts the blame on her, or they put the blame elsewhere instead of blaming one another. And that's probably how they've gotten to a point where they're just kind of coexisting, because it's not a genuine discussion. She's just being empathetic and sympathetic to what he needs to, I guess, avoid it or to make it okay. Like, I don't know what the goal was there, but I felt bad because I was like, damn, he's wrong. He's flat out wrong. He should have been home. He should have been taking care of her. He should have been tending to his relationship. Instead, he wanted to get fucked up and do drugs with Raquel. Like,
well, that fucking scenario. That confessional was wild. What is your love language? I don't know, taking shrooms and watching the sunset, or you know, just like go skinny dipping. And it's like, you're such a dickhead, dude. You're almost 40. Like, grow up. And we talked about this with Dodie about how like age doesn't really matter when you're just trying to find yourself. Like, this dude has found himself, and the himself that he found is a piece of shit. Like, there's no way around it. Like, you're a loser.
Yeah, he's the fucking worst. And all Ariana wants, like, when the intimacy thing comes up, she's like, I'm not going to bang a stranger. Like, if you want to be intimate, like, intimacy is not just sex, you dumb shit. Intimacy is it's the small moments. It's like making dinner together. It's sitting on the couch together watching Bravo. It's like intimacy extends much, much further than just the bedroom. And Tom doesn't understand that. And all she wants is time with him. She's like, you have time for everybody else. You don't have time for me. He literally has time for everybody else. He has time to put in effort in a relationship with Raquel, but he's going to sit there and make demands about what he needs out of Ariana. It's like, dude, fuck you. Even if this relationship is on its last legs and you're struggling and it's a mutual thing, if this was a mutual thing, you still clearly have the time to try to address it. But instead of taking that time and putting your effort and energy into your relationship, you're literally putting your effort and energy into Raquel. No pun intended. Pun definitely intended, you fucking dirtbags. But, I gotta stay calm.
We're getting there.
I gotta stay calm. But let's just get right to like the evening, because that's where everything kind of jumps off. And it starts out as something about her. We get kind of the official testing, I guess, of the menu. There's more people there. Terry comes into town, Katie's mom, and it's a nice night. It's like a nice little preview before they go over to Sir, and shit gets kind of rocky. But in this moment, I struggle with this a lot. I talk about it a lot. Not Katie's biggest fan, but don't think she's deserved any of the shit that she's gotten this year, just because she's like not nice all the time and kind of rough around the edges. No one deserves to be treated the way she's been treated. But it was a good moment to see her and Ariana there, and like Lisa's there. She's really proud of them. Terry's there. She's really proud of them. And they should be. Like, this is a cool thing they're doing. It's a big endeavor. They're starting a business. They're doing it well. They're doing it the right way. And I like that they finally had a moment where in a season that they're both continually getting shit on, that we got a nice little reprieve so that they could have a drama-free, like 30-minute tasting with their friends. Just this moment, just this one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from there, they head over to SUR. And this is where Scandoval Act 2 takes its next steps. And it starts out with, again, Tom and Ariana. It's a Tom confessional. And in this confessional, he begins to paint that picture again, making Ariana seem bad. And then he tries to give himself a little pat on the back. He's like, look, the problems are mutual, is what the confessional pretty much summed up to. He's like, I know I'm not perfect either. And it's like, I know what you're trying to do. And that's what's so gross about this whole episode is we're watching this now in hindsight because we're in it. We're in Scandoval. We're allowed to watch it from hindsight now, knowing what's going on and knowing what they're actively trying to do. They're actively trying to spin this narrative while we're watching them was fucking sickening.
Yeah, watching him go like that confessional was rough. And it's one of those things like, we know what kind of person you are because you chose to go to the confessional and talk about the issues that you have in your relationship instead of taking ownership when Ariana's sitting there on the couch and you guys are discussing what's going on. Like, he takes no ownership to her face. But as soon as the cameras start rolling and it's just him by himself, all of a sudden he wants to take a little bit of ownership. I'm giving you zero credit for that. You fail. Fuck
Negative
off.
Points.
But that rolling into, I still don't understand that. Scandoval aside, I will never understand Raquel and her need to insert herself into places. Dude. There were multiple conversations. Obviously, the one that she had with Katie's mom made no sense. And that was
atrocious.
It was atrocious. It was rough. But the one that I want to focus on is her conversation with Ariana. She is defending Tom without saying his name. She is trying to put herself, and we know that she's in the situation because she's actively having sex with Tom. So she's like, well, what do you think about Tom? And Ariana says, well, I think he's hot, but I can't have sex with a stranger. And Ariana's response is, well, you know, with James and everything, she's painting this picture to try to defend Tom. Yeah, what did I say?
Ariana's response.
Whatever. Raquel, her response is all about defending Tom without actually saying, hey, I'm defending Tom in this situation. She's trying to she's gaslighting Ariana at this point, trying to make her seem crazy while also going to the confessional and saying, well, now I understand why she feels that way and why she feels like she has this body image. And it's like, but Raquel, you've done the same shit for the last like 3 or 4 months post James Kennedy. You look inward and you went off the fucking rails and you're trying to paint Ariana in the same light that you were feeling. Like, it just doesn't fucking make any sense. And Raquel just inserting herself where she's not wanted at all times. Just fucking, you hooked up with Schwartz. You're actively hooking up with Sandoval. There's no way that you can get away with it. Just go sit in a corner, talk to your friends. Her ability to walk into a room where like 3 or 4 people hate her and she goes right to them is wild. It's psychopathic. Crazy. It's fucking nuts. Like, hey, yeah, I want to take on this line of fire right now. Like, what are you, a sadist? Like, I don't understand it.
No, it's absolutely banana land. And she seems to like thrive in it. Like, she wants the chaos. And what I got from that conversation with her and Ariana was her end goal there was to get Ariana to be like, oh, maybe I should break up with him. Like, it seems like she was trying to plant that seed because she ends it with, well, I knew like, I just don't want it to get to a point because I was with James for so long and like I didn't know how to get out of it and blah, blah, blah. And it's like she's trying to frame it like, hey, there's an out here. You can get out of this if you need to. Like, you don't have to stay in this. And it's like knowing that you're fucking her man while you're saying that is awful. It's so awful. And then I want to go back to the Terry one. I guess that's forward. But again, she goes in and like sits down next to Katie. You have nothing to say to Katie other than, first of all, you don't need to say anything. You don't need to go up and say, hey, congrats on the sandwich shop. She doesn't need it. She doesn't want you to congratulate her. She's not looking for your for your assertion.
But
She's not
I can
looking
be
for any of that.
okay. I can be okay if she just walked over and said, "Hey, congrats. This is really big. Your sandwiches are great. Just wanted to say
Agreed.
that," and walk away. Like
I would be okay with it.
I would be fine with that because I'd be
I'd
like,
be
you know
fine
what?
with it.
If you want to try to repair this, there's no relationship there. But if you want to just like save face, then just be fucking nice and walk away. Don't get into a conversation because I like all of us were Katie watching that. Like, what is happening right now? Why are you still talking? Why are you here? I can't fucking believe that this is happening right now. Like, all of us are Katie. Now, obviously, Katie has way more emotions. And when her mom chimes in, it's like, yeah, part of me is like, all right, you know, Terry, maybe you should stay out of this a little bit because I don't really like when other people, even a mom or something, like chimes in like that. Like,
I understand that, but okay, I want you to take this out of reality TV for a second. All right. And like, this is your child, and you have had to sit on the sidelines and watch this shit happen. And now you're watching your child who cried to you earlier in the day sit there and take shit from this woman that has inserted herself into the relationship. Like, I agree with you 99% of the time when third parties come into these episodes and decide to chime in. I'm like, fuck that. I don't need to hear from you. Like Robert and Summerhouse later. Like, I don't need to hear it. But in this specific, like this scenario alone, like this one made sense. And this time I'm like, you know what, Terry, give it to her. Like, fucking let her know. Because
but why didn't anybody just tell Raquel to walk away? Like, that would be the main reaction that I would want.
Katie did. I mean, Katie did.
I know Katie
I wish
did,
Lala had stepped in and said, like, dude, fuck off. But like, again, I think what this does is it allows for us as an audience to be like, okay, if we were here, if we were going through this, if Katie was our child, there's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more emotions and real life shit at stake here. Like, her mom starts talking. She's like, they were married for a long time. They were together for 12 years. This is family. This is not some little random makeout. Like, what you did was a terrible thing. You and I have talked about it for like the last few weeks. Like, everyone's glossing over how fucked up that was because there's so much more crazy shit happening. But that moment's really fucked up. And I'm glad that Terry said something, went after, and I can't believe that Raquel's first reaction to Terry opening her mouth was, oh my God, and sighs at her. Like, bitch,
that's who she is.
You can't do that. Like, this is an older woman who's involved in this situation because you're a piece of shit, Rachel, and you had to make out with Katie's ex-husband in the group. Yeah, you're going to sit here and hear what the fuck Terry has to say because she deserves to say it. This is the one time I can get on board with the third party jumping in because Katie also just needs to fucking back up at this point. She's dealing with three idiots. She's dealing with two Toms and a Rachel. Like, Jesus Christ.
I don't understand how Rachel has any friends, honestly. Like, even watching her interaction with Charlie earlier in the show, and Charlie's like, yeah, how was Sir last night? She's like, oh, it was great. It was great. Wait, no, actually it wasn't. I just immediately say things were great. It's like, you're a fucking weird person. Like, I don't understand how you have any friends. Like, you are burning bridges left and right. And not only are you like not taking ownership for it, not only are you trying to take a step back, you're putting yourself directly in the line of fire and trying to defend your shitty actions. Like, she has no conscience, and I just don't understand it.
She doesn't have a conscience or a conscience. She doesn't have either.
Didn't I say conscience? I don't know.
You say
I blame the microphone.
But yeah, it was clipping. But
yeah,
the last part of it is, and this was baffling once again, but nothing should surprise me anymore. And yet here I am every week, like, no way. There's no way this can get worse. And how does it get worse? Sandoval decides that he needs to jump in and go after Katie. Like, why does he feel the need to insert himself? Why do the two that are doing the worst things in the group feel the need to insert themselves everywhere else in the group? And here's what I think. I think that they're trying to just throw gas on every fire around them in order to avoid any kind of scrutiny on themselves. I think they're like, all right, if we're in the mix, if we're kind of like moving chess pieces and we're trying to like stir up some shit, no one's going to be looking at us. They're just going to be looking at us being like, oh my God, these guys keep talking shit, instead of like, oh my God, these guys are having sex. Like, I think it's a smoke screen attempt that's actually counter effective. I think it's drawing more scrutiny, but they think they're playing the game well.
I think so too. Yeah. And they're idiots.
But they're total idiots. But And this entire time, Schwartz is off to the side being the biggest pussy in the world, as we know.
Oh
him to
yeah,
be.
people are
Like,
telling him he should go over there, and he's like, "No, I'm not. I'm
he's
not
like,
going
well,
over there.
I'm not
I don't
going
want
over. It's like, you caused this shit, you disaster. Like, go over there and like take some. If you want to be a good dude that you claim to be, go take some heat off of Katie. Go over there and be like, hey guys, knock it off. Or hey, Katie, let's get out of here. And then Katie pulls him aside to talk outside, and Rachel goes out there.
Yep.
Why?
Again, just inserting herself where she's absolutely not wanted. And look, she's done it a lot, and I still love the reactions from people because they're still so surprised that she has the audacity to put herself there. Like, she walks out, Tom being a pussy goes, "Oh, hey, Raquel." Katie's like, "What the fuck? Like, why are you
tries
here?"
to tell, he's like, Katie, she's apologizing. It's like, Tom, it doesn't fucking matter. It's over. It's over. She disrespected her mom. Like, it's done. If you disrespect my mom, I'm going to smack you, tell you to fuck off. We're not talking again. Like, period.
This
what?
season has been an absolute turbulent force. We have completely done
I've
a
got
180.
So many gray hairs
on everyone else. No, I mean, I honestly, like, this episode, while it was crazy, while it was fucking insane, and while we're trying to discuss this, it was still a great episode of TV. Like, I was
a great season,
so engaged the entire time.
Like, it's been a great season, and it sucks to say that almost because it's at Ariana's expense, seemingly.
I know.
And like, obviously, that's never worth good TV. Like, nobody should have to go through this to put out a good season of TV.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that when the reunion finishes and when this all is finally tied up, I think all Bravo audiences everywhere are just gonna be like, oh, and like a big sigh, and just like, it's over. Like,
no,
it's
I mean,
over.
like, it actually, it has lived up to its potential. It's lived up to all the hype that it's produced. I had people last night, and like, I watched it this morning. I had people last night messaging me saying, holy shit, that episode of VPR was fucking nuts. And usually when people text me about shows or movies or whatever, and they're like, wow, this is great, you got to watch this, it kind of like puts a little air underneath of your sails, and you're like, wow, I'm really expecting a lot. And then you're let down a little bit. This time was not like that. Like, I am actually upset that I stayed up to watch the Lakers Warriors game last night instead of watching this, but I took basketball over Bravo, thinking I could watch it in the morning with my coffee. And I probably made the right choice, actually, because I would have stayed up way later last night because I would have been thinking about that episode. So I think I made the right choice. Let's move on to a much happier topic, Summer House.
My God, I'm going to have a fucking aneurysm.
Well, look, here's the thing. I mean, there wasn't a lot to do with Jersey. There was just kind of more of the same. It was a bit of a filler episode. I texted you this morning. I'm like, it's, whatever. But we do have to tackle this. And this was another episode.
Are we doing Jersey or Summer House? You just said
we're doing Summer House. We're doing Summer House. I'm just trying to rip the Band-Aid off, brother.
All right. Thanks.
Just trying to rip that Band-Aid off.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, we get the remnants of Carl and Lindsay getting engaged on the beach. Should be a really nice moment. It was this entire episode, not even just like the Danielle aspect, which we'll get into entirely. It was really tough to watch because this is supposed to be the happiest moment of their lives. And you get like 30% of the house that's really behind it. The other 20% is like scared to say that they're behind it. You get to see Sam in her confessional is like, I'm really happy for them. But like, I know that if I speak out and say I'm happy for them, people are going to be mad at me. Like, it's really tough. It is fucking nuts. And it's gotta suck. Like, Carl went through hell just trying to get people on board for a little bit and then having to deal with the stress of proposing. And now it's supposed to be relieving. It's supposed to be happy. My whole family's here. Instead, you get like just Kyle and like Amanda fakely on FaceTime congratulating them, Paige fakely congratulating them. Like, nobody's really
Kyle was genuine.
Kyle was good. Kyle was the only one who was genuine. Kyle and Chris, I would say, are the only ones that were really genuine.
Chris, Gabby was cool.
Gabby was cool. I mean, Sam was happy for them, obviously Corey, but
I think Gabby's walking the same line as Sam. But I think that Sam had the confessional saying, like, I don't want to speak out. Gabby, I think she seemed to be like excited, but also I think is like, I'm not going to be like overly exaggerating this because I don't want to get crucified by these girls who are talking shit about it. But the whole thing with that crew, the Sierra Paige Maya group, and I guess Paige is kind of the ringleader of that crew, at least in this episode. She plays both sides of the street.
Yep.
And it fucking pissed me off so much. She's like agreeing with Danielle in the moment. And then she says to Chris, like, no offense, but like, you've known them for 2 months and like, she's known them for 6 years and you knew. Yeah, he knew. You know why? He's a photographer. He has a camera. That's why.
I don't understand that. One of the biggest things that I took away was it's Labor Day weekend. Why the fuck is Sierra and Amanda at home? Like, it doesn't make any sense. This is, the second biggest weekend. And Sarah showed up the next day, but like, why are they not? Right. They should be there the whole fucking weekend. Like, I don't understand. And thankfully, the Robert of it all didn't happen until the next weekend, but we'll save that for the end. It was just really tough to fucking watch. And I felt so bad for them in the moment because I know that like they're trying so hard to be happy. And even that like next morning where I'm usually cringing at them, like baby talking and shit in bed, I start to think, I'm like, you know what? They just got engaged the night before. This is the happiest morning that they're waking up together. They're really excited. I can let this one slide. Like, I completely changed, probably because I felt like no one was happy for them. So it was fucking tough, but let's get into
let's talk immediately about Danielle's reaction.
Yeah.
Like, Kyle gives a toast to the room to let them know what's going on. She makes this terrible face, and then she proceeds to start not crying, not getting choked up, sobbing, like uncontrollably sobbing, to the point where that's when I was like, okay, there's way more going on with her than we even know about, because the fact that she could take this so personally and can't get out of her own way to be like, oh, this is their day. This is their day. It's not about me. I might have to talk to him because I feel left out, which you still shouldn't say a fucking word, because let me get this on the record right now. That is nobody's fucking business. Who you decide, or when you decide to propose and how you decide to propose, has nothing to do with anybody else, even if you've been best friends
unless you have to book a photographer. It's just
or just say like, hey,
nuts.
If you're coming from out of town, I want you to be here for this. So then you tell them, hey, you guys need to fly in because I'm proposing. That's an extenuating circumstance. But as far as who's around you and letting them know, it's not your job to do that. You are focused on proposing. You know you're nervous. Like, you got to get everything set up. It's about you. It's about Lindsay. That's it. That's it. So for Danielle to take this stance that she needs to be in the know, and by them not telling her, it means that she's less of a friend, just goes to show you how much of a bad friend she actually is.
I think she's just her sense of imagination, her sense of who she is in this friendship is just completely lost. I just don't think that she's really piecing together that, look, your actions, your disposition towards their relationship is the reason why you're on the outs right now. Like, she will not, and we talk about taking ownership a lot, but with something like this, like, we watch this unfold. There's nothing really more behind the scenes. Every indication shows that you're kind of growing apart from them. You could have shown up months ago and said, hey guys, I'm really happy for you. I just feel like, it might be fucking up our friendship a little bit. Do you mind if I hang out? Like, just text them and be like, hey, you mind if I come over and check out your new place? Like, force the friendship a little bit. That's fine, because you know what? They've got a lot going on, and maybe they're not thinking about their friends, because it doesn't look like, I mean, obviously Carl and Kyle work together, but aside from that, like, they're not hanging out all the time. It seems like Carl and Lindsay are just trying to get their relationship foundation under works, and they're kind of ignoring other people. Is that the right move? Maybe not. But if you ask to be included and you're truly a friend, they will include you. She never asked to be included.
And if they don't, now you have a leg to stand on.
Exactly, and that's fine.
I tried. They're not doing it.
Not
that's a different
not one person. And this just shows you that these other people that are quote unquote supporting Danielle when she's sobbing and shit, they're not really your friends, because any real friends would have walked up and been like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are you like this? And then when she explains it, they would have a logic response. Like, not one person walked over and said, what the fuck is going on with you? Like, why are you reacting this strongly to something? Like, it's crazy. Instead, they're just basking in it and loving every second of it because they love the drama, but they're not truly Danielle's friend. And Danielle goes over and she's got a shoulder to cry on, and she's hugging all the girls, and she's like, I just don't know where my life is going. It's like, your best friends at this point just got engaged. Be fucking happy, or don't. You know what? If you're not, then just be fucking honest about the fact that you're not happy. You feel a little weird, and that's fine. You can talk to them about it the next week and be like, you know what?
That's it.
I really wish that you would have included me, but I'm still really happy for you guys.
Not, you know what the worst thing you could do is is go to the post engagement party and go up to each individual person and ask them when they found out. That's
And
probably the worst.
The logical answers were there too. When she's talking to Lindsay's friends and she's like, how long have you known? And the one girl said, yeah, a couple of days ago, Carl reached out to me and let me know so that I could come up to the Hamptons for this weekend. You were already going to be here. There's nothing else there. And then Danielle goes, well, I just found out a couple hours ago. The woman that she was talking to responds, well, yeah, because you were in the house. Like they wanted it to be a surprise. Like that is how normal people think.
And then she goes, don't do this. She goes, don't do this.
Yep.
Don't be this person. Like, get it together. This is about them. She checks her. Meanwhile, her 3 quote unquote friends are sitting on a couch saying, wow, Danielle looks like shit. Wow, she shouldn't be doing this here. Wow, this is about Lindsay and Carl. It's like, oh, you realize that now? Where was that energy 2 hours ago at the house?
If you had gone over and calmed her down,
go get your friend.
Fine.
Go get your fucking friend. Go get your friend and get her and rein her in because she's making an ass out of herself. And if you're actually a friend, you would shut that shit down. But instead, you sit there and talk amongst yourselves and whisper, and no one helps her. And just shows you like where their priorities actually lie. They enjoy this shit. They want this shit to happen. Only because they don't like Lindsay. Like, can you imagine that? Like letting this shit like happen just because you have beef with somebody else. You can't in that day, you're going to sit there, Paige, and you're going to say, this isn't the right time. This is about Lindsay and Carl. But on that same day, you're going to say some shit to Chris, like, well, you've only known them for 2 months and blah, blah, blah. So you're playing both sides of the street just because you want to poke the bear. You want to see this shit shake out the way it is. And it's embarrassing. Your friend's embarrassing herself. I hope that Danielle watches the season back and cringes for the whole season. Just like, oh my God, I look like shit.
I don't think she is. Honestly, I think that she's still so scored, so mad. And the biggest thing of all, and it's kind of something that we were piecing together. We talked about it last week. I really do think that Danielle's not being honest with herself and she's not being honest with other people. So these other people, their reactions to it, like Sierra on the phone, finding out that they got engaged. And then immediately Paige, of course, tells her, well, Danielle's fucking losing it over here. Sierra has a real response. And she goes, well, yeah, if Craig was going to propose to you and he didn't include me, I'd be fucking pissed. But
which is also weird. That's also weird.
I get it, but they don't understand that Lindsay and Danielle have been growing apart. Like Danielle is still painting this picture as if she's still the best friend. She's still the person. Like you haven't really been their friend for months. You haven't supported their relationship. You've talked behind their back to fucking everyone. And then I don't think Robert knows a fucking thing. I think he only hears Danielle vent. Yeah, let's just get into Robert. I think that all he hears is Danielle vent because let's be honest, he's around 10% of the time. So all he gets is Danielle freaking out. I know. And all he gets is Danielle freaking out saying like, these two are supposed to be my best friends and they're not including me. And they're just talking to me about how I'm just another woman in the house, like blah, 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 whatever. I really don't think that Robert has been around enough to have any fucking clue what's going on. And instead he just tries to blindly support his girlfriend, which fine, but you can get into hot water with something like this. Is it the time or place to do it right then and there in person? No. Should you still, by the way, when Lindsay and Carl walk into the house and you haven't seen them, should you congratulate them in person? If I'm Robert, if I'm a fucking man and not, you know, rubbing my nose like this every fucking 5 seconds because, you know, whatever. If I'm Robert, hey, looking around. If I'm Robert, I am going up to Carl. He's had this bitchy moment about how he reached out to Lindsay and Carl and Lindsay was the only one who responded. Oh my God. They're fucking responding to 150 emails and text messages. Shut up, dude. Say it in person, make a joke about how he didn't respond and say, nah, I get it. You're busy. That's what a fucking person does. And then be like, I'm happy for you. Congratulations. Danielle didn't congratulate them in person. Robert didn't congratulate them. If you had, once again, all you have to do is just do something nice and they will respond nicely. And if they don't, if Lindsay's response is, oh yeah, whatever, thanks, then you can be fucking mad. But if you're just going to be mad without doing anything nice, then you're wrong. There's just no other way to put it.
The fact that Robert takes it upon himself to finally be the man and finally be a boyfriend and finally speak up, and that's the route that he goes, is that he's going to sit down with Carl. Like, you have not been involved in the situation. You haven't been in the house, dude. You're not having this big, I think he thought it was like an aha moment where he's like, I'm going to stand up for my lady on TV. I'm going to show Carl what's up. And he goes over there to do it and it falls flat because we as viewers are like, you don't belong here, buddy. you are irrelevant. You don't matter. Get the fuck up and leave. You're sitting down with a guy that just got engaged, who's battling this shit. He already feels, this is how nice Carl is. He already feels bad about Danielle. Like, he feels bad, which is crazy. And like, he doesn't have to. It's not his responsibility to make sure that she feels okay about his engagement. But even so, he's able to look at it from another perspective and be like, you know what? I've known her for a really long time. She's been there. This sucks. Is pretty much what he comes up with. And it does suck. So for him to even be able to do that in his own head is good for him. Kudos to him for being
not only that,
person.
but it shows how much he's grown over the years. Like, I've been watching him for years, and he used to be a douchebag. And now the fact that he's in this moment and can rightfully be very fucking mad at Danielle and Robert, and instead chooses to say, I understand where she's coming from, but this is where I'm coming from. Like, he is
stand up and walk away. He walks away from, I would have fucking went scorched earth. I would have been like, I don't know who you think you are. I don't know where you fucking been, but you're not going to sit here and tell me what's up, buddy. Like I said last week, take your spatula, and you know what? Take that spatula and shove it up your ass, because I said take your spatula and fuck off. No, shove that shit up your ass and then smack yourself in the face with it and go home, dude. You are absolutely fucking irrelevant.
Yep. Good call. Well, we can leave Summer House where it is. We'll see. I think we get the season finale next week. So
thank God.
I don't know where we're going to be, but shout out to Carl, because look, it's gotten better. If nothing else,
Carl, it did get better.
It gives us something to talk about. Honestly, there were a couple of weeks there where we're like, yeah, we're just going to touch on Summer House for a couple minutes. It looks like they're not partying and not doing anything. Now they're partying a little bit, and there's a lot of substance. So we'll take.
I will say, credit where credit's due. We always enjoy an athletic scene. The dudes are fairly athletic.
I wanted more of
surprised.
that. I'm not surprised by them. Yeah, I
was surprised by Andrea. Andrea made a really good catch in the end zone, and I thought that he was just pretty. So that's my fault.
I expected him to be better at
throwing motions. Not great.
No, because he's not used to throwing things with his hands. He's used to kicking.
Right, but his receiving skills were solid. He made a diving catch. I was like, okay, these guys can play a little bit. I appreciate that. Like, that was probably the best overall athleticism amongst the group that we've seen. Everyone in that crew seemed to hold themselves pretty well.
Yeah. No, we do love those scenes. I'm trying to think of other ones, but we haven't seen, like, that tennis scene in Southern Charm. That was pretty rough. Anyway,
that was brutal.
Let's move on to the jurors.
Now we're at Roan J, and I had the absolute privilege of watching this in North Carolina with my mom and a family friend of ours, and it was funny. We had a nice night last night watching Jersey, and they had to sit through me doing my thing and being like, "God, can you believe that shit?" And I try to talk during the show, and apparently everyone gets annoyed at that. So it's not just you and Dev; it's everybody. It's the whole world. So to anybody that's like, "Oh, you guys should do a watch party," I don't think you want to watch with me, because apparently I bug people because I'm too emphatic. But hey, I'm gonna do me. But we're gonna start out and we're gonna speed through this episode because not a whole lot happened. But we gotta stop at Marge's first, because we got Marge Sr. and we love a good Marge Sr. But Fessler's mom and her identical twin. Dude, of course Fessler has these two moms. Like, of course this is the situation. And it's perfect. She is the ideal friend on any show. Like, she's perfect. She has substance. She has a fun life to, like, when we want to check in with her, we do. And it's just enough to be like, wow, this is fucking great. She doesn't overdo it. She's normal-ish. Like, Fessler has had an all-star year to the point where I'm nervous she's going to get promoted. And I don't want her to. She's so good at her role that, like, I'm afraid if she gets a bigger role, it's gonna kind of like dumb it down, and she's just such good TV right now.
Yeah, I don't know if she would get promoted. I would be okay with it. I agree that she is the best friend of pretty much across every franchise.
Across the board, yeah.
I loved when her mom and her aunt, I'm sure I'm not the only one who couldn't tell them apart, when they walked into Marge's house and the one goes, I don't think they have any plates or anything to eat on. Where would they put it? There's no cabinets in here. And I have pointed out that fucking stupid cabinet wall like 15 times to random people. Just like, look at this atrocity. It looks so ridiculous. And the fact that they pointed that out and made that joke It was perfect. And I loved every second of it. It was such a nice scene. It was a funny scene. And it was a great way to ease into, a normal episode. It was fine.
Yeah. And then immediately we get into the same old bullshit because now they're
Yeah.
talking about Danielle. They're talking about Melissa and Teresa again. And what I didn't appreciate, and this is like a Marge moment, and it's just interesting that she gets all up in arms about people talking behind her back and saying certain things. And she sits there and she calls Danielle an asshole. She does a mocking Danielle crying moment where she's like, oh, my brother this, my brother that. It's like, whoa, like that's pretty fucked up. Like this is serious thing in her life. And like you're belittling it. But the bigger thing, you're doing exactly what you've been getting on her for all season. You're doing the exact same thing. So Marge, look in the mirror, Junior.
Well, that's the thing is Marge, I guess this year she's kind of showing a little bit of personal life with her friend who's living with her and whatever. This is the first time we've really seen any glimpse of Marge's personal life aside from just her husband. So getting a little bit of that is fine. But when other people are sharing personal moments like Danielle is, and obviously she's going through a lot, for her to just sit there and just completely bash her, you don't know what she's going through. Like, yes, she's lashed out. But if we remember correctly, Danielle offered that as a way to try to connect with Melissa in the second or third episode. And immediately after that, the women were sitting around at Dolores's talking about how there's got to be more there. There's got to be more there. And Marge was ringleading. This wouldn't be a fucking problem if you would just leave it alone and be like, you know what? She's working through some shit. If she wants to talk more about it, she's new. We're not friends with her yet. Let's hear her out and maybe we can offer some advice. Instead, they sit there and they try to connive behind her back and they're like, it's got to be her fault. She's got to be going through shit. So the reason why Danielle is freaking out now, the reason why Danielle has so much on her plate with all of this, as if the issue itself isn't enough when she's talking to her mom about like what's going on, you have these fucking idiots trying to give her unsolicited advice, trying to tell her that it's her fault. It makes no sense. Like they have no depth, these people. They're just nuts.
No, I love that line.
Yeah.
They have no depth, these people. But yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. But let's keep moving. We get to Teresa and Louis, and they're at their house, and I guess we can't gloss over Dolores, Paul, Frank, and the whole family get together. And we don't need to spend too much time on this because I think Frank comes to the realization that we've been trying to say the whole season. It's like, dude, I get this is different, but you're not losing anybody. You're going to lose them by taking the stance that you've been taking all year. What we end up getting is a lovely scene. The whole episode, honestly, started off pretty well. Yeah. Like we get this lovely scene of this like modern family working and seeing that, hey, Paulie is not some stuck up rich Irishman. Like he moved overseas and started working as a receptionist to help his family back home. We love that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Frank resonates with that kind of shit. You see them connect. And if you can see these two patriarchs kind of come together, not that they're in charge, like no, there's a matriarch in this family. Yeah. Dolo, she is in charge. And we all know that. But to see the two men in her life, like at least come to terms where they can be like, all right, this is our big, weird family now, and it could be a beautiful thing. I don't think it's going to be as close as maybe Frank's going to want it, because I do think that Paulie, rightfully so, is going to set some boundaries, but it's a way forward, right? It's like a way that they can finally connect, because I'm telling you right now, we can get some gold TV out of that whole group. That's oh my God, yeah. Good TV.
Like that scene where they're just sitting down, just discussing not only their past and kind of where they came from. And you could see things like resonating with Frank, and then Frank sharing and Paulie is sharing back. Like it was nice. And this is what we've been talking about the whole time is, yeah, maybe he doesn't want to fucking come over on a random Tuesday night and have dinner with you, Frank. Just relax. But this is a big moment for your son, who, by the way, like Frankie Jr. it was so funny. He's like, yeah, I just want some water. And then him during the discussion, like he is worried that something's going to pop off, and it's really noticeable, but it's really funny. And you can see like all of their kids are interacting with both sides, his daughter is talking about how hanging out with Brittany is like having a play date, and she laughed it off and she's like, I'm not that young. I've got an old spirit. Like, that was really funny. And you can see Dolores and Frank and Paulie like just trying to kind of figure this all out. And this is a moment that they can figure it all out. Like, this is a big family function. This is when you're going to see Paul and Dolores. Like, yeah, you're going to see Dolores a little bit more, not only because of the show, but also because you share kids. But if you want Paul in your life, you got to start easy. And look, we're not going to say, we're not going to say, you know, down the line that you guys won't do something together, just like a dad's day or whatever in a couple of years when they're all married and they're all settled and everybody's hanging out. Fine, whatever. But you got to start somewhere. You can't force too much too soon. And I think that's what Frank had to figure out. And I think we really did see something of a positive step, because immediately after, Paulie's talking about having a party and Frank gets invited immediately. So look, just start somewhere. And maybe push your love a little bit further down when you're closer to Paulie. But right now, he doesn't really want it. And he just wants to try to see what's going on. And it looks like everybody likes each other and it's amicable. And that's what we want to see.
Well, I have a question, because you're of Irish descent, Sean Morrison. So when your ancestors came here from Ireland, how long did it take for them to learn English?
My grandmom's family, probably a little sooner, because they were a little bit more wealthy. You dipshit.
You're doing what Brittany did. Why the fuck would they speak anything? They're not speaking Gaelic, like they speak Irish over there.
No, maybe
English. I'm doing it now.
In the 1800s.
No, because Brittany, did you miss that part?
No, I completely glossed over that part when you just said it. But no, they still spoke like rough
English.
Yeah, but like it's okay. So British people, when they're talking, do you know what the fuck they're saying half the time? I actually kind of agree with Brittany. I agree with Brittany a little bit, because half of the words that people say in like London, they don't mean anything. Nobody knows what they're saying. I'm just saying, I know, but you're not in Dublin. So the people in Ireland, what do you want from me?
You're an idiot. You've derailed this podcast for 3 minutes now because you're trying to defend that you didn't catch on to the joke that your ancestors spoke English.
You phrased the joke very well. It's not American English is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, anyway,
speaking American here.
We get to Teresa and Louis' house. Do I need to put subtitles on for you? And they're talking about wedding planning. And Louis' mask is gone after this episode. He's done. He's toast. And he intros a phone call with his mother and says, "What's up, you sexy thing?"
Oh man, yeah, that was weird.
I hated it so much.
I know.
But they start talking, and it's about Joe, obviously, and Melissa, and Louis starts to get aggravated, more so than we've seen all season. And he's just like sputtering things off. And he's saying, like, you don't know bad, like or Teresa says Melissa's the problem. She's in my brother's ear, and like she's telling him, like she's the one kind of pointing him in this direction. And I guess Joe Giudice called Louis at some point, and they had like a man-to-man about Joe Gorga. And whether that happened or not, I am under the assumption that it probably did.
Yeah, it probably did. I imagine
Joe Giudice, he doesn't like Joe Gorga. They don't get along really. So I wouldn't imagine he'd have anything nice to say about him. So that doesn't really land for me. Like that wasn't like an aha moment by any means, but it gives Louis more ammo. And this scene really, for me, painted this picture of a potentially manipulative relationship, because the way that Louis is talking, we'll just lump it in with their scene that we see later of them discussing this in their bedroom. The whole entire argument is framed as though Louis is the victim. The way that Teresa talks, she's like, I'm so sorry that he has to keep dealing with this. I'm so sorry that perfect Louis is getting brought down to this level of anger because of my brother and because of Melissa, instead of saying, oh, maybe Louis fucking nuts because he's reacting really bizarrely in this scenario. And also Louis uses a lot of very emotionally charged trigger words intentionally. The way that he talks to her, he spins it like he's a therapist, and he spins it like he's a psychoanalyst. Like the way that he's talking, I think that she believes he knows exactly what he's talking about. He uses big words. He uses very scientific approaches on breaking down what the psyche of Joe and Melissa is. And all that does is spin this web for Teresa where she's like, oh, wow, he's so smart. He must know what he's talking about. He's so emotionally connected. Listen to these words he's using. He understands how people work better than anybody I've ever met. He must be right. I need to follow him, this poor man. I need to take care of him. I'm so upset that this is happening to him, instead of seeing it as a bigger picture. And now we see unhinged Louis. He starts to like bark pretty much. He's like, you don't know how bad this can get. You don't know how bad this can get. He's getting redder and redder. His face is like magenta by the end of this rant. And one, you know me, I love when people like bark and they act like a total fucking hard ass and they can't back it up. I want to see you go off then, dude. If you're all this bark with your wife.
I think he will.
Like,
so I fully agree. And honestly, like these scenes, at least this one had like a little bit more than the other ones, but I am so sick and tired of seeing, all right, here's a scene with just Joe and Melissa, and they're talking about Teresa. Here's a show with just Teresa and Louis, and they're talking about Melissa and Joe. It's like, I can't do this anymore. I need a fucking confrontation, which I think we do get for the scenes from next week. It looks like Louis does go after Joe. And look, we know that we don't know fucking anything when it comes to this. They do such a good job of hiding everything. And all they talk about are like the weird things. And they use a lot of nuanced words, and they are super vague when they explain what's going on. Like, we don't know what the core of this is actually all about. And we may never know. And we have to accept that.
We will. I think we'll always get hearsay.
I just can't do this dance anymore because it's getting fucking boring. If we see them in the same room together, I need a confrontation. I know that people are over this storyline entirely. I'm being real here. I'm accepting the fact that we are not going to get over this storyline, but I need more in a face-to-face version. I can't do this totally fucking behind the scenes bullshit because, like you said, like everybody's tough. Like Joe is talking tough to Melissa about Teresa. Louis fucking barking to Teresa about Joe. I've had enough of it. I need them to go face-to-face. I'm not saying I need a suplex out of one of them. I'm not saying I need, a Gorga Judice moment where he tackles them at the fucking communion.
No, that's not. That's he.
I don't need the violence.
To tackle him.
I don't need the violence. I just need them to actually start screaming at each other, because you know what? When emotions get the best of you, and we saw it last week where the slip up happened in the car and Louis like, oh, I'm not fucking inviting them. And like, oh, the cameras are rolling. Like, oh shit. On camera, if the emotions are going, we might get a little bit of the truth, because you can't really control what you're thinking. There's a whole facade being painted all over the place by both sides. But when it really comes down to it and you really start getting into the nitty gritty and you start yelling at each other, maybe one or two things slip out that we can kind of hone in on and be like, ooh, all right, maybe that's what this is about. Maybe that's what this is about. Because as it stands right now, we have no fucking idea what any of this is about. And we're just so tired of it.
Yeah, no, I think you said it perfectly. It's gotten to the point where it needs to be an actual face-to-face confrontation just for the audience, just for us to be like, all right, we've heard you both pumping each other up all season about how like they're wrong and how tough you are and like how tough this team is. It's like, all right, well, let's see. Right. And like we get that next week, and Louis legit looks like he takes a mask off at one point, like looks at the camera like the Joker, and he's like, I don't fucking care. Like, yeah,
I love it.
Fine. If that's how we need to tie this up, let's do that. But the last thing I want to talk about, obviously there's some Danielle stuff, but we really didn't get too far into it, is the Fuda scene. Mm-hmm. And I hated it. I hated the whole thing because, again, what she's trying to do for her son, and I will call him her son because that's the relationship they have. I do appreciate that at least I got that from that scene, that Jaden is like, yeah, you're my mom. Like that should be a beautiful thing. But instead, here I am watching this 15-year-old have to have this difficult conversation on TV, mm-hmm. and it goes to a confessional, and Fuda's like, I don't want to do anything to stress him out. I don't want to make his life tougher. It's like, then why the fuck are you doing this on TV? You don't want to stress out your 15-year-old? Well, now he's going to have to answer for this in front of all of his friends. His friends' parents watch this show. Like, there's no way that you can be thinking about his thoughts and feelings if you're concerned about what this looks like on TV. And the fact that she sat there, brought him into the room, has this difficult conversation about his mom, who we don't know. It was awful. It was the whole beauty of this entire thing is completely lost because it's like, you're clearly doing this for the show. And I will flat out say that. Again, the sentiment of it, what she's trying to do for her son is amazing. It's great. You want to make this official. It's a bond that you can't break. That's an awesome, awesome thing. you've belittled it entirely
Yep.
by dragging it onto reality TV.
Yeah, no, I think you said it best there, buddy. Old partner.
Well, I feel like I got some like a weight off my shoulders. I'm still flustered. This week of Bravo, it was difficult. It was a difficult week, man. Like this
It
shit's
is,
tough
and there's
to watch.
And look, I'll say this, there's a lot going on. Obviously, we've got a couple of shows wrapping up. I think all 3 shows are ending next week. Summer
Yeah, we're
House,
getting close.
Jersey, and VPR are all season finale next week, I believe. So I don't know how they're going to do that with Jersey because they still have to do the wedding, which we know is a big part of it. So maybe it's
I
not.
imagine the wedding will be a 2-parter.
I don't know. Maybe it'll be a special bonus because I'm pretty sure that they said that it was the season finale next week. So maybe they'll just do a little bit of the Irish party and then the rest of the episode is the wedding, which I'm fine with, by the way. I'd be
Damn,
okay.
we're gonna have a week of reunions.
I know, but I know. I would settle for just one episode of the wedding if they do a 2-parter, unless there's
I only
anything
need
going
one.
on.
I really only need one.
I need one, and then look, let's just face it now. They're gonna do 3 fucking reunion episodes for everything. So
I don't know. They have to. If their most recent one was Miami, and I can't imagine the 3rd episode did well numbers wise, maybe they'll be like, okay, this isn't working. Let's keep it at most 2 parts, but ideally 1.
Well, from what we understand about the VPR thing, they had to stop. So that might only be 1 or 2 tops.
That's the only one that I would be okay with it being more.
I know. I would do like 6 or 7 of that one and just do 1 Jersey. But here we are, just figuring it out.
And here we'll stay.
And here we'll stay.
No, we're beyond grateful to be in this position. We love it, even on stressful weeks. But that's all I got. We're not doing questions this week. I got to go start cooking. We have to celebrate Riley's graduating college, which is so sad. Woo! She's too old. It's so sad. I mean, it's obviously amazing. But congratulations, Riley. You're going to start your life. You're an adult. What an idiot. But that's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope. Make sure you follow us on all platforms. Just look up Brav Bros. I think we're big enough now that it should pop up right away.
Well, the hubris with you is just
having a good
getting
day.
bigger. Just getting bigger. Yeah, and please subscribe on YouTube. We're pushing a lot more out on YouTube now.
Yep.
And lastly, the Bros will be in New York City. So get your tickets. They're on sale now. Our response has been through the roof. There's been a lot of people that have reached out like, oh my God, I'll be there. So I think this one's going to sell even faster than Philly. And Philly sold fast.
We're going to have to do a tour at some point because people are reaching out like, you got to go to Chicago. You got to go to San Diego. I know we've got a lot of fans in Seattle. Like
Seattle's our biggest audience. So
I know. I
would love to do a West Coast tour.
Yeah, a little tour.
Like start up in Seattle and like then go down to Cali. Like, fuck, I'll do that. So keep coming up keep the support coming and get us out to the West Coast, baby.
We'll be there.
All right. Well, Brav Bros are out of here.
Bye-bye.